Hello and welcome to Lord of the Board. My name is Sam and today we are going to be players taking on the roles of leaders of intergalactic civilizations that are going to be essentially a part of a new galactic senate, trying to send our emissaries out to kind of build relations and trade, as well as build institutes to increase our hand size, construct foundations to build up specialists that can help tailor our strategy to what we want to do within the game. If any of that sounds interesting to you, and is also set in a world kind of similar to that of Dune, Foundation, Star Wars, then Galactic Renaissance might be of interest to you. Let's talk all about it. Now, this game is a hand of cards, and I mean that literally, where when I can teach this game, I can teach it so easily because every player will have a core hand of 7 cards, just like so. They have beautiful artwork, they're kind of tarot size, they're very, very nice looking. And essentially everybody will have this same hand of cards. But at the beginning of the game, players will draft one other specialist card to add to that hand of cards. And that kind of gives you a little bit of flavor. It makes your hand a little bit different than another player's. And over the course of the game, you're going to be adding more of these specialists to your hand and possibly removing cards as well, a little bit of deck building of sorts, in order to kind of get an action economy that you want throughout the game. Now, since on your turn, what you're going to be doing is playing one of these cards and doing what it says, let's talk about what these core cards do for you. You've got the Explorer. This card allows you to explore a new planet. You basically add a new planet, a new stability tile into the game. This is a new area that you can influence with your emissaries and institutes, and alternatively, you can choose to activate one of your planet tokens. More on that later. You've also got the Captain. This is basically how you move your units from one planet to another. You're allowed to move one or more of your emissaries from one planet to one or more planets. And obviously, when you're moving, they have to be connected by these portals on the planet, and all of the portal colors are on the hub. That's the only one that has all 3 colors, so it's always accessible no matter what planet you're coming from. Then we've got the Foundation Expert. This allows you to place a foundation, and this also gives you the ability to draw more specialist cards, adding one into your deck, making it a little bit more unique. You've got the Institute Director, which allows you to place an institute on a planet, but they are more expensive depending on the number of institutes already on that planet. And basically placing these institutes allows you to increase your hand size, allows you to draw a card once in a while, really, really important throughout the game, and adds another element to that stability tile. You've got the Recruiter. This is just how you get more emissaries from your reserve over to your home planet. And then we've got the Ambassador. This allows you to take the planet ability token, which you can have a maximum of 5 of, which you have the spots right here on your player board. But this essentially gives you an extra ability to do. In fact, the other ability that the Ambassador allows you to do is to activate one of your planet tokens as well as the Explorer in order to do what it says. And these can vary drastically. You never know which planets you're going to get in the game. You also kind of choose what your starting home planet is. So these can be very, very powerful. And last, but definitely the most important, is going to be the Senator. Now, this is the way that you score victory points throughout the game. First, it forces you to move an emissary from a planet to the hub, but then it allows you to score victory points for each of the face-up objective cards. Just by teaching you what these cards do, you can already play the game of sorts. This is everything that you need to do, but it's all that extra stuff that makes it even more interesting. If you need more emissaries, you got to get the Recruiter out. If you need to move around your stuff, you got to play the Captain. If you want a new planet to explore, you got to get the Explorer. And if you want to score some victory points, you got to get the Senator. But what makes this even more interesting, the system is just so much better because of this. Your hand starts out at 3 cards, but you only go up to 2 cards or whatever is revealed on your player board. So the more institutes you have, the bigger your hand hand limit is. But as you're playing cards out, once you're done playing them, you have to place them under your deck in the order that you played them, essentially creating your deck as you go. There's no discard pile. You're just creating your action options for the future as you play the game. And I find that to be a very interesting concept, because sometimes you'll want to hold on to that explorer. You don't want to play it alongside another card just yet, because maybe you want to be able to play the explorer and then the captain. So maybe hold on to the explorer, wait until you draw the captain, and then play these both in one turn. One thing that I didn't explain is that if a card has this little arrow symbol on the bottom, it means that once you use that operation or action, you can play another card, and you can keep doing that until you can't play anymore. Honestly, that is why the game is so interesting just right there. But let's talk about the objective cards, because the objective cards are so unique and there are a ton of them, and this really adds in a lot of interest throughout the game as well. Now, all these objective cards are going to be shifting throughout the game. There are these thresholds at 5, 10, and 15. The game kind of changes and the political landscape changes throughout the game. What you want in certain planets might change depending on what these objective cards is, because this is really how you score victory points. So I'll just kind of read a couple of these to you. We've got the Institute Secundi. This says that each planet where you have the most institutes, even if will score you 1 VP. So you might go for a lot of institutes if this is face up. Or helping presence. This one says that each shared planet where you are in the minority, you will score 1 piece. So now players might be trying to share planets with other players, except that they might try to have less pieces than other players so that they can score the VP, which can be kind of tricky. One more, because I just think these are so cool. And like I said, I'm only going through a couple here, but there's a whole deck of these, and it makes every single game's goals feel so different. It's very fun. This last one here says that each allied planet except your home planet will score you 2 VP. An allied planet is one that you have taken that planet token for. So that's just a small sample of some of the ways that the game can change very quickly. Some of these objectives are going to be hiding in new ones created throughout the game. But one important concept that I have not discussed just yet is the disorder. Disorder is one of the main big concepts throughout the game. It's one of the ways that this game contains a sort of combat, but it's not really combat, it's more of just resolve. The way that we described it at our table was it's a way to create movement and instability on these stability tiles. Essentially, as players are going to be placing elements on these stability tiles on the planet, eventually there is going to be no more space on that planet. And these have varying numbers of stability, but eventually a player is going to basically put it over the edge. Well, on a player's turn, the first thing they're going to do is going to be playing the operation card, but the second thing they're going to do is they're going to check and resolve all disorders. There's this nice little handy token that goes right under here and just notches in perfectly, essentially saying that this planet is in disorder and it must find resolve. Now, in order to resolve a disorder, you start with the active player. They have to choose one option, and then everybody on that planet in that disorder also has to choose an option in clockwise order. You can remove one of your emissaries from the planet and put it back into your reserve. Or you can move 2 or more of your emissaries from the disordered planet to any allied planet that it can reach. Or you can remove one of your institutes. Or probably one of the more economic things to do would be that you can actually play a disorder card. Some of these specialists that you can get throughout the game actually have a disorder ability, and it's one that can be played instead of having to remove any emissaries from that planet. You can just play this card instead and use its ability, and oftentimes they are very, very good. The thing is that it has to be in your hand, so you'll have had to hold on to it waiting for a disorder to happen. They honestly feel really cool, and they are mostly like trap cards in the game. You feel very special for using them, and they often give you a nice edge. Now, if after every player has gone clockwise and basically done one of those 4 actions, essentially completing a round of resolve, if the planet is still overflowing and the stability is past the amount. You have to continue to do that over and over again until the planet's stability is not over the limit. And that's really disorder and one of the main ways to cause movements and changes in the political system, ways to get those objective goals completed for yourself. And it's a very, very clean system that is so easy to teach. Once again, this game is so easy to teach to people because it all just makes sense. Now, if that's all the game was, I would be really, really happy because that game right there with just these core cards and the disorder and the movements of pieces and building institutes and trying to score for these objective, that's cool. Oh, and getting the planet tiles. It's awesome. You can use these abilities. They're very, very powerful. That's awesome. But you guys know me. You know how I am, and I love asymmetry. And here's the thing. There is an entire world of asymmetric cards. I haven't counted them, but there is a ton of asymmetric specialist cards here, all unique artwork, all unique abilities. And when you are able to play that Foundation Expert, you'll be able to have the option of drawing a certain number of specialist cards equal to the number of planets where you have presence that has a foundation. So for example, if I had presence on 3 planets and each of those planets had a foundation, when I play the Foundation Expert, I would actually be able to draw 3 specialists because of those 3 foundations that I have presence with, and then I'm going to be choosing 1 to keep and put on top of my deck, keeping forever for the rest of the game, and then the other 2 I'd put on the bottom of that specialist deck. So the more foundations that you're surrounding yourself by, the more options you will have to build that master hand that you want with these specialist cards. And trust me when I tell you, some of these abilities really change up the game. All of them allow you to play another card alongside them because of that play another card option that they have. But I want to talk about 3 of these cards that I found to be very, very crucial in the games that I played, at least a couple of them that I know that I had some awesome times playing with. I'm first going to talk about the Warmonger. This is just absolutely insane, and this will just kind of give you an idea of what potentially you can find in these cards. But the Warmonger has an operation ability that says lower the stability of a planet where you are present by 1. So you literally change the stability tile to 1 less than it already is, making it easier to go into disorder, which is awesome. Or you might be causing a disorder right now, which is just, it's so cool. It's just like a really cool concept. I really enjoy this one. Then we've got the Xenologist. This allows you to either explore a new planet, which gives you another way besides the Explorer to get new planets onto the board. And then also it has a different action that you can use to add 1 emissary on up to 3 planets where you are present. So really good for movement and also exploring new planets. I love that card so much. But then this one is going to blow your mind. I absolutely love it. We've got the Spy. This allows you to essentially look at an opponent's hand of cards. Use 1 card of your choice for its ability except the Senator. Then you play it basically like it's your card, and then you give all of those cards back to their hand, including that played card. So you get to see what they have, and you also get to potentially use a specialist ability that you don't even have in your deck. That's just 3 of the cards, and there's so many of these. It's honestly very, very cool. And depending on which one you start with kind of determines a little bit of the flavor of kind of, your game. But as you go throughout the game, you're going to be building up your own specialist deck that really gives you your own kind of flavor. Now, we have already talked about scoring victory points and how to score victory points, but another concept that you did not know is that once a player reaches 20 victory points in the game, they kind of get to this point of the game where they have to essentially score 10 victory points in 1 turn in order to win. If they score up to 25, then they go back down to 20. And so every player eventually sometimes starts to land on that 20 victory point spot, and they're all trying to score 10 points in a row, because if you do in 1 turn, you will win the game of Galactic Renaissance. So just some of the closing notes that I want to give before I wrap up here is that, one, I know that the art and the components are not finalized, but I would have played this game with just these components right here. I'm sure the game is going to look even more beautiful on the campaign page, which there's going to be a link down below. But essentially, what it looks like right now is already gorgeous. This artist is amazing. I even love these little foundations. They're so cool. And the artwork is, like I said, phenomenal. I mean, just looking at this kind of game board here, as a fan of Dune, Foundation, and Star Wars, it's given me vibes of each of those, but it is standing on its own as this unique kind of world that has a lot of breath and life and interest, and it makes me want to kind of come back and play this game some more. If you want to play a game that is extremely easy to teach, very easy to get into because it all just makes sense, and yet provides an experience that is well beyond its complexity, Galactic Renaissance might be the game for you. This game is heavy on the area control, heavy on the diplomacy, and also heavy on that planning and deck building with those specialist cards and your core hand cards. All in all, I've been having a blast with Galactic Renaissance. If you want to get Galactic Renaissance, you can check out the link in the description down below. I hope this video helped decide if maybe this is the game for you. And if you want to see more videos like this from me, definitely consider subscribing. But that is it for today's video. Let's go ahead and drop the beat.